Future.
Okay, William, you're good to go.
Wow, guys, we did it. Welcome. You did it. You're here. You know, this is really terrific that you've given up your Friday night to be with us. And I promise you it's going to be exciting. Yeah. So, hello, my name is William Friedman. This is Jim and Ann Glenn, and we'll be your host tonight. And thanks again for being with us. This is our live ASEA broadcast, where we bring interesting and unique perspectives about the science of ASEA, the business of ASEA, and real life-changing experiences to all of you. And tonight, we're going to hear about how this technology has impacted the lives of our special guests. And tonight, we have Lynn and Danielle Matthews. Welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
You know, tell us a little bit about yourselves, where you live, and I have lots of questions for you. Can't wait to hear what you guys are going to share with us.
Well, do you want me to go first, Danielle?
Sure.
Okay. I am really honored that you all asked us to be on tonight, so thank you for that. I actually currently live in Sedona, Arizona, but most of my life was in Virginia and Maryland. That's where Danielle actually grew up. I started out in IT. I've owned some businesses in IT and in the wellness world. I still have a partnership with a college back in Maryland where I train yoga teachers. So I have that business, and then of course my ASEA business. So in a nutshell, that is me.
I love Sedona. I've been there a couple of times, not in many, many years. And that was one of my favorite places, was to go up to the airport and watch the sunsets.
We live right at the base of the airport. We get some amazing sunsets.
It is truly amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And Danielle?
Yeah, I live in Melbourne, Florida. So it's east coast of Florida, about halfway through the state. And I've been down here about 4 years. Grew up in Maryland, though, went to school, University of Virginia, went out to Colorado afterwards and lived out in Colorado for a couple of years and never would have left. I love the mountains.
Oh, nice.
But life kind of had other plans for me. So life went in a different direction because of that accident. But anyway, that's where I am now.
Fantastic. Well, welcome, you guys. Thanks for being with us. You know, everybody's always curious. You know, it's so great that we all have a story, right? A story of how we learned about this and who told us about it. And how long ago did that happen? Tell us how this began for you guys.
Well, about 7 years ago, Danielle was, actually, why don't you tell that part and then I'll tell how we found out about ASEA, Danielle. You tell about the accident.
I was hit by a drunk driver 7 years ago, and I walked away from the accident. I actually thought, I was okay. My body looked fine. I had burns from like the airbag. And I just kept telling everybody, though, that I felt really out of it. I told the paramedics that, and they said, oh, you're just in shock. It's okay. It'll kind of leave. And in the weeks that followed, it was not leaving. My head felt like it was going to explode with the amount of pressure and pounding. I couldn't think straight. I'd become very apathetic. I was just not myself. I had no filter. My poor mother. I was sleeping all day long, very sensitive to noise and light, and eventually got in to see a neurologist. They said that I had an injury to my brain, and they said, look, it'll clear up in a month. You can go back out to work. So I went back to Colorado, tried to work. It was immediately, obviously, I couldn't. The doctor said, look, it'll take 3 months, it'll clear up, and then 6 months, it'll clear up. And then at a year, I went in and they said, look, with this type of injury, your body's done all the healing that it's going to do. And I'll never forget his words. He said, this is your new normal, and you need to adjust your life around that. And I'll tell you that in that year, my mom drove me, oh my gosh, it was like almost daily, to different therapies and professionals to try and help. And nothing was helping. I mean, there were things that helped a little bit, get some of the pounding down and give my energy back a little bit. The dizziness had gone away at that point at a year, but all the other symptoms were still there. And I'm just really grateful that, their mindset and my own was this: there's no way this is going to be my life. There's got to be a way to get well. And it was a friend of my mom's that entered the picture. So you can kind of pick it up from there, Mom.
Well, hey, Danielle, let me ask you a quick question. So give us an idea when you first tried to go back to work. Tell us what was going on. I mean, how was your brain working?
I was doing Teach for America. It's So it's a program that puts you into a rural or urban setting that's low income where you teach. And so I didn't have a background in teaching, but you give 2 years, they teach you how to teach. So I was teaching 6th grade math. For an example, I would write a to-do list down, and then I'd go back, sit at my desk, and I'd write down another to-do list. And then I'd go, oh, I already did that. It's right there. I remember distinctly having a stack of papers that needed to be graded and going to the park after work to grade them, getting there, and they were all already graded. I had already graded them. I couldn't remember the words that I was saying when I was in front of the room. I would just kind of forget what was coming out of my mouth. I was so sensitive to light, even natural light. I mean, there was blackout fabric in my bedroom. The lights coming in from the fluorescent lights in the room. The best way I can describe it is it's as if someone took a flashlight and was shining it right in your eye. We were like, that's just too much. That was constant. That was constant. And I couldn't handle noise. My brain just couldn't kind of decipher what to pay attention to and what not to. It all came in at the same level. And so when someone tried to talk to me or do anything, I was so overwhelmed. I was very short with people because I couldn't take it. And it just made my head rage. I mean, my head felt like it was pounding. It was awful. It was absolutely awful.
Danielle, did that ever let up at all, or did it get worse? Was it the same? Were there at times that it was a little bit worse than others?
It never stopped. I would say it ranged in severity. So if I pushed and I was an athlete my whole life. So like you push through injury, you just do it and eventually it goes away. I tried to push through this and it didn't necessarily make me worse, but it didn't give me the chance to get better. And, I would find things that would trigger me where like the next day it was like, I couldn't get out of bed. I mean, it felt like a truck hit me and it was just like, nope, sleep is all I can do. And, I'd get up and I'd try and do some work and I'm like, man, I've been working at this for forever. Or like, I've been writing so much and it's like 10 minutes had passed. So yeah.
Now, were you with your mom at that time or was she back in Maryland?
I was stubborn and strong-willed, and I said, I'm getting on a plane and I'm going back to work. You all can't tell me that I can't, and I'll get past this. So I flew back to Colorado, and first time I drove too after that was back in Colorado. Didn't even cross any of our minds that I hadn't been in a vehicle driving since the accident, and I had a full-on panic attack the first time I got back in a vehicle. Wow. So I was dealing with that often as well because I just felt like I lost control of my life. I mean, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't hang out with my friends. I couldn't participate in conversations and it was scary. And every day it was like, waking up with the same thing. And I'd look in the mirror and I'm telling you guys, I looked like this. I looked fine. And so it was a real mind game for myself because I'm like, what is wrong with you? Pull it together. And I couldn't, I just couldn't pull it together. And people didn't know how bad it was because I've always been really on top of it. So I used to take my cell phone at night and in the notes app, I would say 7 a.m. do this, 7:05 do this, 7:10 do this. I planned out my day in 5-minute chunks because otherwise I'd sit there and I would go, what am I supposed to do? I'm so tired. I'm just going to sleep. So I would plan it out like that, but nobody knew I was doing that. So it looked like, I was kind of going about life in the way that I was supposed to.
Wow. And then to have the neurologist tell you a year later that this is going to be your new norm and you're just going to have to learn to live with it. Wow. I can't imagine.
Yeah, we walked out of there and we're like, you're fired.
Yeah.
I was livid that someone would tell you were 24 at the time, would tell someone that this was their new normal and give them no sense of hope. I remember Danielle pulled out a book. We had a book called Your Plastic Brain, I think, and it was all about neuroplasticity. Or the brain that healed itself. And we said something to him about that. And he said, oh, that's just a theory. That's not real. And I thought, and this is a neurologist. And I thought, you shouldn't be practicing is what really went through my mind. Because number one, how do you not give someone that young hope, anyone hope? Because hope is huge. Your mind is so powerful. Yeah. But yeah, it was remarkable that he said that.
You can imagine how many other people are going through this exact scenario and they're not even aware there's something else out there.
Yeah, well, the other scary thing is that people don't get diagnosed with these head injuries because you look fine. There was no imaging that occurred that said, oh, she's had a head injury. Nothing. You couldn't see it on anything because it was mild on the scale of brain injury. And so the number that go misdiagnosed and people are just out there trying to figure things out without guidance or help. They don't even realize why they're getting forgetful or can't remember something or why all of a sudden lights are really bothering them. It's unreal. It's absolutely unreal.
And you guys have both had, I know, a positive attitude. There's got to be something we can do. There's got to be something that exists in the world that can make a difference. And so how did it come into your awareness?
But
that ASEA
let me ask, I want to ask real quick, but I've had a lot of back issues. I've had a lot of back pain. I've had 10 back surgeries. Did you get to the point of almost losing hope? I mean, I know you're a very positive, upbeat person.
You
Did
know this, Danielle.
Yeah.
You know the other.
Yeah.
Nobody saw
Yes.
those 2 years.
No, I didn't have hope.
Really?
I didn't want to be on this earth anymore.
Oh, wow.
It was awful.
We had a journal that we
And,
started for her with lots of positive like affirmations and things that she could look through to lift her up. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was severe depression.
Severe. And no, I didn't have hope. And when my mom came home with salt water, I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Now, tell us a little bit about your degree, because you also have a science degree, correct?
Yeah, my degree's in biology. I went to University of Virginia and studied biology there. So when my mom, it was a friend of hers that was an acupuncturist that had started using it in her practice and said, I think that this can help Danielle. And my mom brought it home to me and I looked at it and I said, this is ridiculous. And I Googled it, and I saw it was sciencebasedmedicine.com, that website did me in for several months because I believed what they had to say on there. I didn't realize, who these people were and that there's misinformation on the internet about it. Didn't realize all of that. And my mom is not a science background, right? So when I'm like, explain to me how this works, she's like fumbling to explain it. And I'm like, yeah, it's not real. Solely because she's the one trying to explain it to me, right? And so I ignored it, but my mom didn't. I refused to take it, and I said this is ridiculous. But my mom started taking it.
Now, were you where were you at that time? Were you guys together then?
Maryland, we were together. Go ahead. Yeah, we were when we realized that she could not teach, and the school was wonderful because she was such a great asset to them. They were willing to do like what was it, a leave of absence because everybody thought she was going to recover. And when it became evident she wouldn't, she had to move. My husband actually flew to Colorado. They packed up all her stuff and he drove her back home.
Okay.
So and that was within the first year because this went on for 2 years before we found ASEA. It was 2 solid years before we found ASEA.
Well, that had to be horrible for you as mom and dad to see your vibrant daughter that's been so active, athletic, excelled at everything. And that had to be very difficult for you guys too, Mom.
It was.
So Danielle, you watched your mom do it, right? She's the guinea pig. You weren't going to do it. And what happened?
She had issues with her joints and she was having, pain, like just moving the sheets off her in the morning. I was having to be in the kitchen doing a lot of stuff because her hands were not working. They were gnarled, like you could see nodules, they were red, they were inflamed. She could do about this range of motion wise. It was just not a pretty thing. And all of a sudden, range of motion, her discomfort was no longer as high. And I said to her it was a placebo. I said, you're drinking salt water.
Now, how long did that take, Lynn? How long did you see the results? How long did it take?
It took 6 weeks before I could make a fist. And I was bone on bone. I had been to rheumatologists. I had tried alternative and natural things as well. It was 6 weeks before I could make a fist. And a lot of the pain was gone, but not all of it. And then, within a few weeks after that, I was pain free.
And how much?
It was actually, nobody had told me that you should increase it. So I was just doing 2 ounces twice a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you using the gel as well?
The gel didn't exist at that time.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Or I would have been.
Yeah. Well, that's still pretty good. 6 weeks.
Yeah. Because
So-
it was severe. It was severe. I mean, my fingers were deformed. I was, like I said, bone on bone. It was excruciating. And it was amazing that
Yeah.
I could make a fist then. And to this day, I still have no pain, full range of motion with my hands.
Wow.
And your brilliant daughter said that was placebo.
Yes, she did. And my husband actually, when my husband saw what it was doing, he had played, I also went to the University of Virginia, and so did he, and he played football for UVA. But he had had a career-ending injury, and back then there was no arthroscopic surgery. They removed his cartilage and part of his meniscus. So he'd always been bone on bone for decades. He's still an athlete, still worked out, but he always wore a brace. And there was some level of discomfort at all times. So he thought, well, if this is doing that for you, let me try it. And he had a really fast response. Within 2 weeks, his knee pain was gone. And he said he was working out like he had never worked out before. He felt like he was 30 again. And that's when we sat Danielle down and said, look, we really want you to try this. What if this is the missing link? What if this is it? And I'll never forget how she rolled her eyes and she said, if you want to waste your money, go ahead. And I said, all right, we're going to give it 6 months. And that's when she started on it.
Awesome. And Danielle, what did it taste like when you first drank it?
Honestly, I was trying to think about it. I don't remember because I really don't remember at all. I have no memory of the first taste of it. I just remember rolling my eyes and being like, this is so ridiculous that they're making me do this. And that was my mindset for like the first several months. I mean, I'm like, this is a waste of time. This is ridiculous. You're wasting your money. And it was around 3 months that what was happening was my parents were going, are you sure you don't want to go lay down? Are you sure you can go walk the dog? Are you sure you can, get on the phone and go do this and go do that? And I'm like, yeah, I feel fine. Yeah, I feel fine. And they're like, huh. So my energy was the first thing that came back. All of a sudden, I mean, it was just like, I had the stamina to get through a day. I was usually having to nap for 2 to 3 hours after any sort of activity. By activity, I mean like go to the grocery store, sit up and have a conversation with somebody at a meal, like it was just anything exhausted me. And around the same time, the pounding in my head finally stopped. And that had been constant since the day of the accident. And
How long did that take, Danielle, for the pounding?
3 months.
3 months, okay.
And that was 2 ounces twice a day or 4 ounces twice a day?
4 ounces twice a day.
Awesome.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
if my memory is correct, I'm pretty sure I also drank a bottle over the first 24-hour period. I think Dr. Silverman had advised my mom that, and we had done that, and then drank 4 ounces in the morning, 4 ounces at night. And my mental clarity started to come back. All of a sudden, it was like, my processing speed had slowed. So if I wanted to say a word, like, oh, it's outside where you park the car, like the door's shut and I couldn't get garage out. I could describe it to you, but I couldn't get the word. All of a sudden that stopped. It was like, whoop, filing cabinet was open again and I could pull out words. It wasn't like mud.
Yeah.
But, and that was when my cognitive therapist said to me, she said, this woman I had been seeing weekly for over a year at that point. And she said to me, Danielle, in my 30 years of working with people that have had your injury, I have never witnessed a recovery so rapid, so far out from the initial trauma. She said, with your kind of injury, that doesn't happen. And she said, what the hell is that stuff you started drinking? And I said, salt water, Debbie. I have no idea. And that launched into, I said, you got to talk to my mom. My mom's like, we got to talk to Dr. Silverman. And first, 3-way phone call I ever participated in. It was really a 4-way. And I just got to listen. And my mind got blown. I'm like, holy, this is real.
You did not dig at all into the science during that first 3 to 4 months. You just kept drinking the pool water.
And I'll tell you, Jim, when my student, the acupuncturist, when she told me about it, I did no research. I just took her at her word because I had known her for a long time. I knew she was seeing some benefits with all her clients. That didn't matter what was going on with them. And I thought, it's safe. What do we have to lose?
Yeah.
So that was the key thing for you, that the safety factor, that they had no toxicity?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Now, how long had she been using the product? Your acupuncturist?
I think a couple years, because she's yeah.
We should have her on a
Wow.
Friday night.
She doesn't do the business though. It's really interesting.
Okay.
She has a lot of her clients on it. I think they're mostly preferred customers, but she doesn't really engage in the business. And it's funny because we had an event in Annapolis in July, and Danielle came as one of the guest speakers, and the acupuncturist came, and it was the first time she had seen Danielle since Danielle had her accident.
Okay.
So, and she was in tears
Yeah.
that Danielle was doing so well. And we said, it's because of you. And she was so emotional about the fact that she had played a part. Yeah, that's her. That she had played a part in Danielle's recovery, such a huge part, because if she hadn't said a word to me, I'm not sure to this day I would know about it.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
That's how it works.
And Danielle, how far along are we now?
4 years.
Accident or since being on ASEA?
Since
So,
being on ASEA?
2014.
Yeah.
Okay,
little over 5 years.
okay.
And I think it's important to say this because I think people miss this. I think people think, oh, 3 months in, poof, I was back to normal. No, those
No.
things started to decrease at 3 months, but it was a while before the sensitivity to light went away. I was still having to wear sunglasses everywhere. It's probably about a year into drinking ASEA. And then the sensitivity to noise did not alleviate until the beginning of 2019.
Wow.
Not until the beginning of this year. It was probably 4 years, 3.5 years, whatever the math is on that. Before my sensitivity to noise went away, I couldn't listen to music. I mean, I was able to be in surroundings where I could talk to people and I wasn't overwhelmed by the TV and things like that. But I couldn't listen to music. If music came on, I had an instantaneous migraine. And at the beginning of this year, I don't know why I did it. I pressed the radio in my car. I never do that. For years, I haven't done that. And I just did it. And I got to the end of my ride and my head didn't hurt. And I went, oh my God, I started crying. Because like life without music it's hard. Music is such a part of things. So, that to me, it's like that, if that had never gone away, I still would have been happy and grateful for what ASEA had brought me. But just the more time you give this, it's just amazing, the body's ability to repair itself. And it can take time.
Even motion, because you've been out on a boat this year and you're able to sit in the back seat of a car now. And that's recent. That's 2019.
Wow.
Yeah.
And typical for people that suffer these brain injuries, like the neurologist said, this is your new life. So the fact that it just kept improving your life and ultimately giving you your entire life back, I mean, that's got to be encouraging for all the people that are listening that might know somebody that needs some help. And it's not necessarily even a traumatic brain injury. It could be any kind of problem associated with some issue in the mind or the brain. So wow, this is so good that you guys are sharing this information. So like often we see with people that get their lives back or have their lives significantly impacted, we see that there's a new effort to go tell other people about this. And you guys have both really embraced that. Tell us what that was like in the very beginning when you just decided, okay, people need to hear about this, right? What did that look like in your guys' lives? I'm
laughing. For me, at the time, I was in the middle of getting my master's. I was teaching a lot, and I really wasn't even thinking about this as a business, period. I just did not have space in my life for another business. But in what I teach, meditation and stress and yoga teachers, a lot of people ask about, their health and what they can do. And so kind of just organically, I would tell them what I had stumbled across. And I was getting people on it and things like that. Still no thought to do the business, really jump in and think about it as a business. But then I don't know when it shifted, but I had been saying to Danielle, because she was trying to figure out what she wanted to do with her life. She had been able to watch her friends over the years that she was not able to work, and just didn't want the kind of life where somebody else is controlling when you can take off and things like that. And I kept saying to her, I think you should look into ASEA, because by this point in time, I had been to conventions. I was very, very much working ASEA as a business. And she just kept oh, I don't want to do that. It's network marketing. No, I have no desire to do that. And it was kind of like the same thing. Oh my gosh, no. And so this was in 2015. We were moving from Maryland to Virginia to Arizona, and Danielle and I were driving cross country with the dog, and the Envision conference was coming up. This was in August, and Envision was in September at that time. And you used to have to qualify for Envision, and I had qualified for 2 people. And I said to her, "Why don't you come to Envision after we drive cross country? Why don't you come with me to Envision, and you can learn what this company is all about?" And she said, "You know what, Mom, I'll tell you what, I will come with you. And then after I come, don't you ever mention this as a business to me ever again." And I said, "Okay, fair enough. You know, at least you'll come, you'll meet some people and kind of get what this company is all about." Because for me, the ethos of this company and the heart of this company is why I engaged and why I aligned myself with it. And Danielle's that same mindset. So I knew if she really understood the company, that she might be interested. And I'll never forget, it was the first time Tyler did his ethos training, and they added an extra day to the Envision, if all of you remember, in 2015.
Sure.
And all day Thursday, he did 8 hours, 1 hour on each component. It was phenomenal. And I'll never forget, halfway through the day, Danielle leaned over to me and she said, "Now I see why you love this company. I want to do this."
Wow.
But Danielle, you tell your version, but I just, it brought tears to my eyes because I thought I knew this was something meant for her and her gift that she could bring to the world, not just because of her story, but just what she as a human brings to the world. And it was a perfect match in my mind.
Perfect. Danielle, what did you see at Envision that changed it for you, besides Tyler, obviously?
It's so funny because at that conference, I sat in the back. I had noise canceling headphones in because I still couldn't handle noise very well. And so hearing the speakers, like it being that loud, is so much for me. And I had to like walk out every so often. So it's just funny how much things have changed, from my first conference. But 2 things happened. Tyler was talking about gratitude, and gratitude changed my life. I mean, a year after my accident, when I said I was not well, my cognitive therapist suggested to me to start a gratitude journal. And she said, just every night before you go to bed, write 1 thing you're grateful for. And I committed to do it for a year. And I ended up doing it probably for 2 years. I filled up a whole book, and it completely changed my world to be able to look back at my day and like not think about all the negative stuff, to just think about 1 thing that I was grateful for. And then, after doing it for several months, it was difficult sometimes. Sometimes it was like I had strawberries in my salad. Like, I'm grateful for that. It was the only happy moment of my whole day. But after a while, it was just like all I could think about were positive things. And so just negative stuff didn't stick. And I remember Tyler talking about the power of gratitude. And I just went, yeah. And then it was the children's book. It was the 3 questions. And I said, if this is what this company is teaching you, to be present, to do what's best for the person in front of you, and if you do that and you live your life in that way, that's what you're meant to do on this earth. Like, when I was getting better, all I had was the present. I never knew how I'd feel the next moment. So it taught me, you just need to be living now, and you need to do what's best now. And why not serve somebody else in that moment? Because who knows what life's going to look like tomorrow, or if we'll even be here tomorrow. And when he was teaching that, and I just went, oh my God, this is how I view life too. And if this is what they're teaching, from the heart of the company, tell me more about this. And that's when I went, okay, so what the heck's network marketing? Like, what is it really? Because all these people look very happy, and no one talked about money and all this stuff that I thought network marketing was. And so I just went nuts. I mean, I remember, I just, like, everyone that had talked on stage, I tried to find and talk to. I remember Alan Noble was outside. I went to the bathroom, one of my many breaks. I went to the bathroom, and Alan was out there on his cell phone. He probably has no recollection of this, but I stood there because he had spoken on stage and I wanted to talk to him. And I stood there and I waited for 10 minutes for him to finish whatever he was doing on his phone. And then I started asking him questions about, do you think I can really do this business? And how would you start this business if you were me? And he just poured into me all this great advice about going wide and going deep and doing this and that. And, I met all these incredible people, and they were genuine. And I just went, I've never met people like this. They just seem to have a different perspective on the world and a different thought for what the world could look like. And they were just like giving and just, I mean, tears in their eyes talking about what they had done with this technology with people. And I just went, wow. And the other big wow was, where are all the young people? I said to my mom, this is exciting, but like, there's no one my age doing this. So can I even do it? And then I bumped into Alyssa Favreau in the bathroom. And she said to me something like, nice dress or something like that. And I said, oh, thanks. Who are you? Blah, blah, blah. I didn't know who she was. And yeah, met her there. She had just decided to start doing the business as well. And I met Marco. And we kind of said, we got to get some young people in this. And so we kind of connected over that and became friends with them. So that was my first Envision.
Holy cow. And so you had a completely different idea of network marketing. A big shift occurred for you.
A lot of misconceptions. You don't know what you don't know.
Sure.
True.
You know, and I think that's what's so fantastic about this company. And obviously we have one of the most significant technologies probably ever released to the world. But, you know, the way it's being done, the culture and the people that it's attracting is, like you indicated, that's it. That's it. To be able to hang out with people that are of like mind, that are really in this for more than themselves. We're in this to change the world, right? And you know, that's the mission, to be a force for good in this world, and we get to live it and be part of that every day. That's pretty cool. And so go ahead, Jim.
Hey, William, real quick. I know we've got people that are brand new on this webinar tonight. Danielle, and then maybe even Lynn, could you please, how do you explain what this is to the brand new people that are watching this that really don't know what we're talking about?
As far as network marketing or the culture?
The product.
The whole thing.
What is the
What's the product? You know, just how do you share it with somebody brand new?
So it started out one way when I started this business, and I had to learn the hard way about what not to do. So
Me too.
yeah. Now what I say is, look, I've come across a technology that changed my life. And I just feel people deserve to know it's out there. It's a breakthrough in cellular health. Would you be curious to learn? You know, you can say one-liners like, if someone says, what do? You know, I help people improve their lives physically and financially with salt water. Like, what is that? What do you mean? You know, and the thing is, if you're new, here's the thing you need to master is that you initially contact somebody about this. You pique their interest in a short way. Like, oh my God, I just saw a really cool movie. You need to go see this movie. Like, I just came across something incredible. You need to check this out. And they go, what is it? I can't even do it justice. It's a breakthrough. You know, what I can do is I can give you some information to look at, or I can rub some gel on you. You can experience it, but then you got to talk to somebody that's more of a specialist in this. You got to talk to my friend that shared it with me. You got to talk to whoever. You just got to get them to a phone call. And this is the gap, right? That people have to figure out, the skill set to build. But if you can just very quickly and briefly with excitement, because it's not what you say. I promise you, it's not what you say. It's how you say it. And if you are confident and excited, like they'll just go, okay, like I'm drawn to this, right? And so your job is to get excited and share, and then schedule a time for them to talk to somebody that has more experience than you. And you get to listen in and you get to learn this business by doing it. You don't get to learn everything and then go do. I remember Bo Buck in Envision. I got the end of Envision. I was so excited. I said, okay, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna study all of this. And he looked at me and he was like, did you listen to anything, Danielle? And I was like, what? No, Bo's like huge. And I'm like, what? Like really even tinier. And he said, no, you need to just go do. He said, you'll learn it as you go.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's uncomfortable. Because I'm used to like study then execute. That's not the way here. You can never learn everything. I still learn. I'm 5 years into this. I'm still learning. So, you know, that three-way call, as soon as I started getting people on three-way phone calls, game changer. It's a game changer. And then, you know, really the flow is from a three-way call. They then need to be invited to an in-home meeting or like an event that somebody's having close to you, because then there's social proof. Then they're getting the gel right then and there, and they're going, wow, this stuff works, and it just worked on them, and holy cow. And then, you know, from an event like that, the next thing you want to do is get them to a regional event, because a regional event shows this is beyond, you know, our friend group. This is people all over the state are doing this. And then from a regional, you want to get them to what my mom got me to, an Envision or a convention, because that's when your mind really gets expanded and you start to really believe like, wow, this is really real. And, you know, I could probably do this because if they did this, I could do this. And, you know, you just get into a totally different mindset. So that's the flow of the business. And you don't need to master the science. You don't need to talk about the science. Only 25% of the population even cares about the details of the science.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that. You're a tour guide. You know, you just say, I don't know enough. I just know the stuff works and I'm excited about it. And this person can answer your questions. And if they say, well, I want you to answer them, you say, I don't know enough, you know, or you might ask me something that I don't know. So I always have somebody else with me just so that we don't get stumped. Just very casual.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you're so right. It's about how we show up.
It is.
It totally is. It's
And another,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to
No,
say
you go.
another thing for the new people, and this is something that I really had to get used to, is you've got to start to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because you're going to put yourself in situations that make you grow. And that's one of the things about this industry, I think, that sets it apart from other industries, is all the personal growth that occurs. And ASEA is huge in that. And, you know, half of the ethos is all about people growing in their business, but also in their lives and in their relationships. So getting comfortable, stepping outside the box. I remember somebody said to me, and I still tell my team this, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. So go out there, stumble over your tongue. You know, you're going to say way too much at first. Every once in a while, I still do that, but it's okay, because the right people are going to come in your life who need to hear this, and they're going to hear it no matter how poorly you think that you've delivered the information. But keep it brief, like Danielle said, and that's really what we strive to teach our team. You know, you're just trying to pique interest. It's so simple. People try to overcomplicate it, but the more simple you can keep this, the more success you're going to have. Terry Latham says that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, you've just got to keep it simple.
The less you say, the more you will make.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you a quick question, Danielle. You've obviously have had a phenomenal experience, and Lynn, your daughter, you had a phenomenal experience. How do you coach people that have not had that phenomenal experience yet? Can you just share real quick how you work with people? Like, because we get a lot of people say, I talked to multiple people today. Well, I'll wait and see what it does on me.
Yeah, that's like,
Any thoughts, Danielle?
that's so frustrating. So, we'll deal with it. There's a couple of ways that I handle it. You know, one, it depends on how the person was approached. If they were approached with like, hey, this can help with X health issue that you have going on, like, of course they're going to go, okay, well, I'm going to see what it's going to do with X health issue before I do anything else with it. Because that was the way, that's like the lens that they.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to back out of that. So, but, you know, I do have people that say, oh, this is really exciting, but I'm going to see what it does for me. And I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I mean, I'm not a jerk about it, but I just am very strong in my stance. And I'm like, this isn't on trial. So I don't know if, like, we need to go back and I need to show you some of the research that's there. Like, it shows us that there's shifts within minutes of you taking this in your blood. And, you know, the science is very solid on what this does. If you need to see some more testimonials to hear from actual real people, I can show you that. If you want to talk to people in this community, you can talk to them. I said, but I want you to think about this. Whatever health issue you have going on that you're testing this on, there's people in your world that don't have that health issue. And so just because it's going to help you have more energy, what is that going to do with your friend that's got, you know, acid reflux issues? Well, you know, and they kind of go, well, and I say, so what's the harm in just saying to this person, be honest. I don't know what this is going to do for me, but I know enough to know that you deserve to know this is an option out there. And then they can decide. I said, because at the end of the day, if your energy goes up, you're still going to go to that person, and you know what they're going to say? They're going to say, okay, that's great, but show me the science, or that's great, but let me talk to somebody else. I said, so it doesn't matter what experience you have now or 3 months from now. Their reaction is going to be the same.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm 100% successful at doing that, but it definitely plants seeds and gets people thinking.
Right. Right.
And then the other thing that I always do is I say, well, have you used the gel yet? Like, you've had an experience. You watched it work.
Yeah.
You know, because most people, you can get them to have some reaction with that, with discomfort or range of motion, or even just like the energy testing or whatever. And I say, that's the same stuff you're drinking. So, you know, it takes time for cells to heal internally, but you just watched it work. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I also tell them, you know, look, I'm sure the people that you're thinking of are just as smart as you are, you know, so who are we, and I put it back on myself, who are we to make the decision for them? You know, this is only about education. Nobody's here to convince people to do anything. We're just here to educate. So why wouldn't you want all the people you know who this may help to get educated? They're going to make the decision best for them, but you're not giving them a chance to do that.
Good point.
That's a great point. And, you know, one of the things we have to also consider is that, and most of us that have been at this for a while realize this, that I've had many phone calls where I talked to somebody new that might have been on my list to call, but for whatever reason, I didn't call them in the first couple years. Mm-hmm. And then they say, wow, I wish I would have known about this 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. When my mom was still alive, or my friend had this, you know, problem and has suffered all this time. So, you know, I think that's it's so important for us to understand that we can't keep this to ourselves. I call it the seed of knowledge. Mm-hmm. And I firmly believe, and I've even told people that once we receive the seed of knowledge, people will cross our path and we won't know why. The universe is aligning and sending these people to us because the universe knows, however that works, that you have that seed of knowledge, and that's what we're simply here to do, is to pass that seed of knowledge on so that other people can then make their own decision about this and ultimately take advantage if they see fit. So yeah,
absolutely.
Fantastic.
And you know, another thing, and I got this from Debbie Wetzler, because somebody in, I think it was the gal in Sweden who was brand new, but she thought she kind of understood what this was and was very excited. Of course, Debbie was excited. And she said, I'm going to get 10 friends to do this with me, because think of all the different things we're going to see happen. So I often share that with people. I say, you know, you don't know what's going to happen to you, but you're naming some people who you love and you care about. Why not get all of them on it? And then you're going to have 10 different stories.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Pepper Black has done that. Leland Duck has done that. That's just amazing to get more people to start the journey with you.
Sure.
Absolutely amazing.
And Danielle, I have a question. So you transitioned from one city to Florida. How did you go right into, you know, because I'm sure there's some people on, you know, they say, oh, you know, I'm done with my Moore Market, and
I don't know anybody.
Now I got to try to talk to somebody I don't know. And I'm, you know, we live in San Antonio, 1.6 million people. There's plenty of people still out there to talk to. And I have no fear talking to somebody in a grocery store. So how did you, when you got to Florida, kind of launch your business to get to where you are today, where you know, I'm sure you do network groups, or kind of describe to some of these new people how you got out of your comfort zone and just shared it?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because my mom had talked to everybody that I knew, my family, right?
Way to go, Mom.
I've been doing it a while, right?
Yeah, like a year head start. And, you know, I didn't really have a warm market. I had been out of work and life for several years. And to be honest with you, a lot of my friends had kind of disappeared because I couldn't live life. And that's just kind of how it was. So I got to Florida after Envision, and I pulled out my the success guide in the welcome kit, and I sat down and I said, okay, so how do you do in a SIA business? And I'm like, what is this? And so I just went through it and I filled it out. I still have it. And there was like a list of 20 people, and I don't think any of those 20 people did anything, but it was my start of a list. And then I said to my mom, I said, how am I supposed to do this? I just moved to a city where I don't know anybody. And she said, okay, Danielle, let's Google networking. So we Googled networking, you know, Melbourne, Florida, and BNI chapter came up. And so I went to this BNI group, and talk about the right people being in your path. The guy that was the visitor host at the BNI group, to date, 2 people have ever said this to me. He goes, I know a SIA. And I'm like, what? Nobody knows. Anyway, and he was great. And he took me and kind of introduced me to a massage therapist in the group. And that massage therapist was like, you know, like, oh my God, don't even talk about some product. What are you, crazy? What is this thing? And I called her after the meeting, and she said, you're too new to town. BNI is, you know, pretty intensive. You need to be able to give. Why don't you look at a chamber and another group? And I thought, okay. So I went to a chamber of commerce, and the chamber of commerce said to me, I'm telling you all of this because it's important, because you're going to run into roadblocks. Yeah. I had a will and a desire to share. So because they said no to me and guided me elsewhere, I wasn't like, oh, I was like, all right, well, that's not the right avenue. Let's find another avenue. And I went to the chamber, and the woman at the chamber said to me, this really isn't a good fit for a home-based business. I don't think you'll have success here.
Huh.
And I was like, well, with that attitude, I'm not going to. So I went to another chamber. And that chamber was 40 minutes north of my house. And I said, well, I'm going to go to this one. That lady sat there and said, Danielle, if you do X, Y, and Z, you show up to ribbon cuttings, you show up to all the workshops that we do, you just apply yourself, you show up, the chamber will work for you. People fail at the chamber because they think the chamber's supposed to do something for them. No, they provide the space for you to enter to then go do work, which is just making relationships. And so I said, okay, I'll go do X, Y, Z. And I just went nuts. I became an ambassador for the chamber. I'm like, I'm going to be the first person people meet. I'm going to meet all the new people. I just went nuts making relationships. I sat down one-on-one with people. And that's what I did my first entire year. And eventually people stopped looking at me like I was crazy talking about saltwater. And they started listening, and some people started having experiences. And so the community was kind of like, oh, that stuff she talks about works. And, you know, it was slow going. After my first year, I was like hardly a director 300. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I was just talking to sick people and about being sick. And, you know, I wasn't talking about anything in a good way. So in 2017, I said, I need to work smarter. And instead of doing all these one-on-one meetings, why don't I try and do an event where I can talk to everybody at once? And I said, you know what? I'm just gonna go find an event space, because I couldn't have people at my house because I lived with it was not a good living situation. And anyway, so about in February, I ran into a woman named Jackie Davidson, and she said, sure, you can use my gym. And she said, what is this stuff? She started using it. She got on board. She started sharing with me. It was the first person that ever joined me in business. And from there, I just did a weekly meeting. And sometimes nobody would come. And this was like 45 minutes from my house. Sometimes nobody would come, but everything I did was like invite to that, invite to that, invite to that, invite to that, and just kept doing it. And I committed to myself. I asked a friend of mine. This is another thing that really helped for new people, get an accountability partner. They don't have to be an ASEA. I asked a really good friend of mine. I said, look, I really want to make this business work. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I know that if I have somebody to talk to at the end of the day that said, what did you do today? Then I'll be more likely to do something. And I said, all I need you to do is ask me, did you talk to 2 new people? And who are you talking to tomorrow? And he said, I can do that, Danielle. So 8 o'clock every day in February, March, and April, every day, including Sunday, we talked. And so that got me in a rhythm of commitment, and like that propelled my business to bronze in June. It wasn't immediate, right? You plant seeds and they don't always, come when you want them to. I went bronze in June, kept going, and I went silver and gold in the same week right before convention in September. And it just propelled my business because it was a 90 days of just like so focused. Yeah. So that helped. And I just, so then I got really into networking. So then I joined BNI. I became a director consultant for BNI. So like I go to all these different BNI chapters, and like I just got very into networking because I'm like, wow, this stuff works, and it grew my business, and I want to help other people do it. And then literally we're always learning, right? It never dawned on me to just talk to somebody that was next to me. Mm-hmm. You said, and you talk to anybody? I'm like, it never dawned on me to do that until like a month ago, when I watched one of my associates do it. We were at a meeting, and she just went through the hotel. She was like on a mission. She was like every person. And it wasn't like she was in her face. She walked in, she struck up a conversation, very casual, and then brought up, just something about, have you ever thought about owning your own business? And just casually started bringing things up. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. So I'm like, okay, I always push myself to do things that make me uncomfortable. And I'll tell you that I said, okay, I'm just start talking to people. So at the dog park, I started talking to people. My maintenance guy at my complex started talking. I signed 3 people up that were strangers 2 weeks ago.
That's how to do it. That's awesome.
They're everywhere.
That's right.
I was talking to a friend recently, and he was coming back from an ASEA event with a buddy, and it was 12 o'clock at night, and they pulled in, I think, to get some fuel. And his buddy was so excited about ASEA, right? He was just riding a high at that moment. And so a truck driver steps out of his vehicle, and he just right away goes up to him and starts talking to him. And he takes a sample tube of the gel, and he says, "Are you hurting anywhere? Do you have any discomfort?" And literally, my buddy took a picture of the guy with his big old trucker belly, pulls up his shirt, and they're applying the gel, and he joined the company. It's absolutely, it's how we approach people, and the fact that everyone deserves to know about this. And people follow people. And if we come with that excitement and enthusiasm,
Yeah.
and people, they want to have what we have. And so these are great. These are great. You guys, this has been so fun. Hey, give us an idea of, now I know that both of you were in different businesses, different backgrounds, teaching, and tell us, how does this business, looking back now, how does this compare to other things you've done in your life?
Oh, it's very, very different. And well, it's different and yet it's similar, because the businesses I've had in the past required relationships. When you're teaching, it's a relationship between you and your students, you and other teachers. I've owned a studio, so I had relationships with people that I had to deal with and work with. However, in owning that, you're also responsible for every single aspect of the business. And it took all of my time to run the business, and took the joy out of teaching, which was originally why I got into that industry and that business. With ASEA, you've got all of the support behind you that you could ever want, from the marketing materials to customer service to who's handling legal and all that stuff and production. We don't have to worry about any of that. We get to do the most fun part, which is talking to people and meeting amazing people every day. So it's such a simple thing. Like I said earlier, we overcomplicate it, but that is one of the biggest ways it's different. Everything is there for you. And especially in ASEA, this was my very first time in network marketing. So I've been told by many people I kind of hit a home run the first one I got involved with. So I don't know, but I have heard that not all network marketing companies, you have that full support from above. So I think we're really fortunate that not only do we have founders and a corporate team that believe in us and believe in this technology and really walk the walk, as well as talking the talk, as far as being, the mission statement of bettering people's lives and being a force for good in the world. But you've also got the support in every other level. And another thing that makes it very different, when I was in the IT world in corporate America, everybody carves out their niche and they fight to protect it.
Yeah.
Right. And what I have found, and when I went into the yoga industry, I left corporate America because I thought that didn't speak to me. And I went looking for it in the yoga world. And I will tell you that I had rose-colored glasses on, because I didn't find it there either. It wasn't until I went to, it's there in pieces, but there's a lot of places it wasn't there. When I went to one of the first things where Bertus Norton spoke, and he quoted Patanjali, who's a great yogi, I just thought, I can't believe there is a corporation out here where they are quoting yogic scriptures. And that was one of the biggest things, that it was so different from corporate America, because I work with a lot of crossline, upline, downline, crossline, and it doesn't matter. Everybody who I have met in ASEA is willing to give of their time, even if they have nothing to gain remotely from it. And I think that sets this company apart, even from other network marketing companies, from what I've heard from some, because everybody's willing to work with everybody else. We do that all the time.
I remember one of those moments you just reminded me of, when at one of the big events, there was Paramahansa Yogananda, a quote that he gave, and I just felt like I was at home.
Yes.
Wow, are you kidding me? Wow, this is amazing. So Danielle, we're almost out of time. You guys have been so fun. Danielle, tell us what the future looks like from where you sit today.
Man, it's exciting. At convention, when Tyler spoke and he closed us all out, I don't think I've ever been speechless in my whole life. At the end of that, he got my brain so expanded on where this is going, what it really means to be a legacy, where the struggles I'm going through today, what I'm doing today, the business I'm growing today, has the potential to impact my children who don't exist yet, and not just my children, but my children's children. And that makes the ups and downs of today irrelevant, because the magnitude of the impact that we can have with this is unreal financially for our own lives and generations to come. And if you think about that kind of impact, that means that ASEA has gotten in the hands of and in the homes of hundreds of thousands of people. And I am impacting their life in a way that I will never know. And that is unreal. And I will tell you, you know, I have my mom and I have this unique opportunity to have been in the company video. And it has been, I mean, it has brought tears to my eyes to get messages from people across the world saying, you know, your story has touched my life. And I don't know who I'm helping. And I'm like, I'm getting like tears in my eyes now, because what I went through was horrible. I would wish it on nobody. But because I went through it, it put me in a position to help so many. And the thing is, you don't have to go through hell. Anyone can just decide that they want to be part of this and can have that impact that is so far beyond them that they'll never know. And it's real. And guys, you can do it. And it's worth it. It is so worth it, because at the beginning, it is hard. And like, let's be honest, I've wanted to quit like 1,000 times, but I'm like, what else am I going to do? I am meant to do this. I want to do this. I got to just figure it out. Don't wish it were easier, right? I wish I was better, and just keep working. Self-development has been the key, because it's like, I was starving at the beginning with this. You don't make much money at the beginning. And then it's like, okay, now I'm surviving, right? Like the effort's going out. I'm getting paid decently well for the effort. Okay. And like the next phase is overpayment. And then you're in a position where you have money to give to others in a big way. And I can't wait for that phase to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. I have a lot of lessons to learn and a lot of personal development to go through, but it's about the journey, right? It's this person that I'm becoming. Like, I used to be a wallflower. I didn't like to speak, you know, and now here I am. I just, like, you can't stop me. I'm like, there's so much to share, and I want everybody to know. And that's where I see this going, and why I'm so excited about where it's all going.
Wow. Wow.
Great.
Wow, you guys have been amazing. What an inspiration. You know, there's going to be thousands of people that will see this recording over a period of time. And so, yes, you're out there, you're in the corporate video. I love what you guys, you just gave yourself so completely. And I know personally that I've used that video to help people, and it has helped them. So thank you for that amazing gift. And thank you for this gift tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, it's been really fun. Really fun.
The video is extremely touching. We've already sent it hundreds and hundreds of times since convention. So we're very excited.
And I get something every time new out of it. I'm not getting tired of it at all. We do an in-home meeting every Tuesday in our home, and that is that's what we start the meeting off with. So Danielle, you're in our house a lot, whether you know it or not. And I know, like what you said, there's thousands of people all over the world. And I'm just glad we were able to have you and your mom on.
Yeah.
This is a very moving, very touching video. And I'm honored to be a part of it. And, you know, we each have nothing to gain from each other, but, you know, we're doing this for the good of this company, for the good of the product, and for humanity. And it's amazing what this will do for people.
Oh yeah. The video is going out to thousands when you think about ASEA Connect, and then we do big meetings citywide and in other cities that we're developing. So literally, I mean, the numbers are just growing and growing, how many people are hearing your story and other stories. So we appreciate all that you give. So
guys, go have an amazing weekend, because you just gave us all an amazing weekend. The start of an amazing weekend. So
thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And next week,
Good night.
Yeah, next week we got Dr. Carolyn Hoffman and Buffy Donahoe.
Yeah.
So they will be with us next week. So we look forward to seeing you guys next Friday, same time. And again, Lynn Matthews and Danielle, thank you.
Thank you so much.
From the bottom of our hearts.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Great
God bless.
weekend. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.